Most people lose not because the challenge is too big, but because their thinking is too small. Power can break a door, but strategy finds the hidden key. You've been told to work harder, grind longer, push through, but effort alone will only take you so far. Eventually, you hit a wall that force cannot break. That's when strategy wins. That's when the person who sees the whole board rises above the person who only reacts. In this video, you'll discover the art of strategic thinking, how to think 3 moves ahead, how to prepare for storms before the clouds even form, how to turn problems into power plays, and how to play the long game so time works for you, not against you. This isn't about doing more. It's about thinking better. It's about shifting from brute force to intelligent force. If you're ready to outsmart any challenge, take a deep breath and let's begin. Most people lose not because they are weak, not because they don't try hard enough. They lose because they play blind. Imagine a chess player who only looks at the piece in front of them. They rush to make the next move, desperate to feel progress, but they never see the trap waiting 2 steps ahead. That's how most people live. I know this feeling well. For years, every challenge in my life was a crisis. Every problem demanded all my energy right now. I was always reacting, always putting out fires, always surprised by the next obstacle that blindsided me. It felt like drowning. No matter how strong I swam, the current dragged me under because I didn't know where the river ended. I was fighting hard, but I had no vision. Here's the truth. Life is not only about action. Life is a strategy game, and you cannot win by reacting 1 move at a time. The illusion of speed. We live in a culture that worships speed. Work faster, decide quicker, react instantly. But speed without vision is chaos in motion. It feels like progress, but it's just exhaustion disguised as achievement. Think of a firefighter. They are always rushing, always moving, always reacting. Necessary in an emergency. But what if your whole life is built on emergencies? You never design, you never plan, you never see the bigger picture. Strategic thinkers don't just react, they step back, they look at the entire board, they imagine how today's move will ripple into tomorrow's reality. From checkers to chess. A mentor once told me, "You are playing checkers in a chess world." That line hit me hard. Checkers is about moving fast, 1 square at a time. Chess is about thinking ahead, predicting, creating patterns. Most people live like pawns. They shuffle forward, reacting to pressure, hoping for the best. But the kings and queens, the strategists, see the whole board. They anticipate. They plan. They make every move count. When you start thinking this way, the chaos clears. You notice traps before they close. You stop wasting energy on battles that don't matter. You start steering your life instead of being dragged by it. Why we struggle to zoom out. The human brain is wired for survival. Our ancestors had to react quickly to threats. A rustle in the bushes might be danger. No time to pause and think. That wiring still lives in us today. That's why, in a crisis, your heart races. Your body screams, act now. Fix it now. Move now. But survival mode is not strategy. Survival saves you today. Strategy saves you for the next 10 years. If you are always in survival mode, you never rise above your circumstances. You're always trapped in the urgent, and urgency steals your future. The shift to strategic vision. So how do you start seeing the whole board? It begins with one decision: pause before you move. When a problem shows up, don't rush head first into fixing it. Step back. Ask yourself, if I make this move, what happens next? Who will it affect? What chain reaction will it cause? This is not hesitation. This is calculation. It's the difference between wasting years and winning the game, a personal turning point. I remember one season where I was juggling too many crises: work problems, financial stress, relationships falling apart. I was exhausted. Then a mentor told me, you don't have a problem with effort. You have a problem with vision. That night, instead of reacting again, I sat down with a blank page. I mapped out every challenge, not just what was in front of me, but what it might lead to. Suddenly, I saw patterns I had missed. Half the battles I was fighting didn't even matter. Some of them I could avoid completely if I planned better. For the first time, I felt like I was no longer drowning. I was steering. Practical exercise. Try this right now. Take one challenge in your life. Write it down. Then ask yourself 3 questions. 1, what happens if I react the way I usually do? 2, what happens 2 steps after that? 3, what would happen if I paused, mapped, and chose differently? This simple exercise trains your brain to zoom out, to see the whole board, to stop reacting blindly. 1-line strategy. Remember, this speed without vision is chaos. Vision with patience is power. When you see the big picture, you stop being a pawn. You start moving like the strategist of your own life. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper. Not just seeing the whole board, but learning how to think 3 moves ahead. Because the game of life is not won in the next move. It's won in the next 3. Most people believe life is random. They think every problem is a surprise. Every setback is bad luck. Every obstacle is unpredictable. But here's the truth. Life follows patterns. Every decision you make today builds tomorrow. Every step you take now creates a ripple you'll feel later. The reason so many people feel trapped is simple. They only think about the next move. They solve what's urgent, but they never ask what comes after. And because of that, they repeat the same struggles again and again. The trap of living one step at a time. I used to live this way, always reacting, always running to fix the loudest problem of the moment. When a crisis hit, I gave it everything I had. But weeks later, the same crisis returned, sometimes bigger than before. I wasn't solving problems. I was recycling them. It felt like playing a game without knowing the rules. Every win was luck. Every loss felt inevitable. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't escape the cycle. The lesson that changed everything. One day, I watched someone else face a challenge I thought was impossible. But they moved differently. Slow, deliberate, calm, even under pressure. Problems that knocked me flat barely touched them. When I asked how they did it, their answer was simple. I don't play for today. I play for what happens after today. That one sentence hit me like lightning. I realized I was only thinking about the next move. But the game is won or lost 3 moves ahead. Why thinking ahead feels hard, let's be honest. Thinking ahead feels unnatural because emotions scream at you to act now. Fear tells you to fix it now. Anger pushes you to strike now. Impatience says decide now. But every impulsive move you make today creates tomorrow's regrets. You can't outsmart challenges if you let emotions control your decisions. Strategic thinkers do something different. They pause. They breathe. They imagine the ripple effect before they act. This isn't overthinking. It's foresight. It's control. It's the discipline to choose tomorrow's win over today's relief. The domino effect. Here's a question to ask yourself. If I make this choice, what happens next? And then what? And then what? Most people stop after the first answer. Strategic thinkers go 3 steps deep. Think of it like dominoes. The first move might look safe. But what happens when the next domino falls, and the next and the next? If you trace the chain reaction far enough, you'll see the real outcome before it happens. This skill will save you from walking into traps. It will also reveal opportunities most people never notice. A real turning point. I remember one decision that almost ruined me. I was offered a quick solution to a major problem. Every part of me wanted to grab it. But for the first time, I stopped and asked, what happens 3 steps later when I followed that thread? I saw disaster waiting. I walked away. Even though it felt painful at the time, months later, I realized that decision saved me from a complete collapse. That was the day I understood the power of foresight. It wasn't luck. It was strategy. Why busy doesn't mean progress. Here's another trap. We confuse movement with progress. People think being busy means they're winning. They solve one problem after another. But they're running in circles. They're burning energy but going nowhere. Strategic thinkers don't waste effort. They don't fight every battle. They don't chase every opportunity. They choose moves that solve today and build tomorrow. That's the difference. A practical exercise. Take one area of your life where you keep repeating the same struggle. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's health. Maybe it's relationships. Write it down. Then ask, what move did I make 3 steps ago that led me here? What would happen if I planned 3 steps forward instead of just 1? This exercise trains your brain to think in chains of consequences. It shifts you from reactive to proactive, from trapped to free. One-line strategy. Remember this, life isn't won in the next move. It's won in the next 3. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper into the mindset of preparation. Not waiting for storms to hit, but learning how to outsmart obstacles before they strike, because strategy isn't about reacting to chaos. It's about being ready before the chaos arrives. Most people believe challenges must hit before you can deal with them. They think you need to wait for the storm before you build shelter. They believe you need to get punched before you learn how to block. But that's not strategy. That's survival. Strategic thinkers live differently. They prepare before the clouds form. They block the punch before it's thrown. They avoid the trap before it's even visible to others. This is how you outsmart obstacles before they strike. The myth of I'll handle it when it comes. I used to live by this myth. I prided myself on being tough enough to handle anything life threw at me. No plan, no foresight, just grit. And yes, sometimes I survived, but most of the time, I was in constant damage control, always running from one fire to the next, always patching holes. Instead of building something solid, it was exhausting. I wasn't growing. I was just surviving. That's not strength. That's blindness. The power of anticipation. Then I met someone who lived differently, while the rest of us were always in crisis mode. This person stayed calm, no scrambling, No panic. Just quiet confidence. I finally asked them their secret. Their answer was brutally simple. I prepare for storms before the clouds even appear. That truth hit me harder than any obstacle ever had. I realized I wasn't losing because I was weak. I was losing because I never thought ahead. Why? Most people stay trapped. Most people stay stuck in cycles of chaos because they don't anticipate. They wait until the problem is screaming in their face. By then, it's too late. The truth, most obstacles don't appear suddenly. They leave clues. They send whispers long before they roar. But most people are too distracted to notice, too focused on comfort today to prepare for tomorrow, too busy reacting to think ahead. How strategic thinkers prepare. Strategic thinkers train themselves to notice the whispers. They watch for patterns. They ask, if I go down this path, what might go wrong? They prepare quietly, long before the challenge arrives. This is not paranoia. It's intelligence. It's the difference between being ambushed and being ready. It's like building a shelter while the sky is still clear. When the storm hits, everyone else runs. You simply step inside. A painful lesson. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I poured everything into a project. I was obsessed with how good success would feel. I ignored the warning signs. Skip preparasjon. And when the cracks appeared, it was too late. The entire thing collapsed. I lost money, time, and confidence. Looking back, the disaster didn't start the day. Everything fell apart. It started months earlier when I refused to prepare. That failure taught me obstacles are rarely sudden. They are slow shadows creeping toward you. You can avoid them if you are willing to look ahead. Why preparation feels? Unnatural preparation feels uncomfortable because it forces us to face risk. It demands we imagine what could go wrong, and that feels like negativity. We don't like it. We'd rather chase comfort, but foresight isn't negativity. It's power. It's the ability to walk into the future ready while others stumble blindly. Practical preparation. Here's how you can begin. 1. Scan for patterns. Look at where you've stumbled before. Chances are, those same traps are still on your path. 2. Ask hard questions. What can go wrong? Who might resist this? What hidden cost am I ignoring? 3. Strengthen before stress. Don't wait until you're weak to prepare. Build skills, savings, and resilience. Now, 4. Write it down. Put your possible obstacles on paper. Seeing them makes them real. And real problems can be solved. Preparation turns fear into a plan. And a plan turns chaos into calm, a mindset shift. Think about soldiers on the battlefield. The best ones don't just fight hard. They anticipate where the enemy will strike. They prepare the ground in advance. That's why they survive when others fall. You must treat your life the same way. Don't just pride yourself on your ability to endure storms. Learn to position yourself so storms can't touch you in the first place. One-line strategy. Remember this, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your preparation. In the next chapter, we'll shift even deeper. You'll discover how to turn problems into power plays, not just avoiding challenges, but using them as leverage to move further and faster than before. Because real strategy isn't about dodging pain. It's about transforming pain into power. Every challenge you face holds 2 choices. It can break you, or it can build you. Most people treat problems like curses. something to avoid, something to complain about, something to survive barely. But strategic thinkers see something different. They know problems carry hidden power. Obstacles aren't just setbacks. They're leverage. If you know how to use them, they can push you forward faster than smooth roads ever could. The curse mindset. For years, I lived with the wrong mindset. When problems appeared, I cursed them. I thought setbacks meant life was against me. I saw failure as proof that I wasn't good enough. When doors closed, I stayed outside, blaming the world. Every obstacle drained me. Every mistake made me smaller. That mindset kept me stuck for years. Because when you see problems as punishment, you miss the lessons, the clues, the opportunities hiding inside them. The day my perspective shifted, one day, I watched someone else handle a crisis that would have crushed me. They didn't panic. They didn't complain. They stayed calm, studied the situation, and walked out stronger than before. I asked them how. Their answer changed my life. A problem is only a problem if you leave it as one. Otherwise, it's just a puzzle, and puzzles build champions. That sentence flipped my thinking. From that moment on, I decided to stop treating problems like curses. I started treating them like tools. Why most people stay stuck? Here's the truth. Most people waste their problems. They let fear and anger control them. They burn energy fighting reality instead of studying it. They ask, why me instead of, what can this teach me? They let emotions blind them to the data problems carry. And because of that, they face the same struggles over and over again. Different situations. Some listen, still ignored. What strategic thinkers do. Differently, strategic thinkers ask better questions. When a problem appears, they pause. They analyze. They look for the hidden advantage. They ask, what weakness in my plan is this exposing? What blind spot is this revealing? How can I turn this pain into a blueprint for progress? They treat problems as free training, as lessons delivered by life itself. And once they master the lesson, the same problem rarely returns. A real example. I once made a decision that cost me everything I had built. I lost money, opportunities, even confidence. At first, I drowned in shame and anger. But eventually, I forced myself to study what had happened. And I realized something powerful. That failure had shown me exactly where my thinking was weak. It revealed the skills I lacked, the mistakes I kept repeating. Once I fixed those, not only did I recover, I became stronger than ever. That failure was the tuition I paid for a lesson that made me unshakable. The pain was real, but so was the power it gave me once I chose to use it. How to turn problems into power plays. Here's a simple process. 1, pause before reacting. Don't let fear or anger dictate your next move. 2, extract the lesson. Ask what this problem is teaching you about yourself, for your plan, or your environment. 3, find the leverage. Ask how this problem could actually position you better for the future. 4, act strategically. Use the insight gained to build a stronger system, mindset, or skill. When you do this, problems stop being roadblocks. They become stepping stones. Why this feels unnatural. Our brains hate pain. We're wired to escape discomfort, not embrace it. That's why most people run from problems instead of studying them. But growth is always hidden inside discomfort, and only those willing to lean into the pain discover the prize waiting there. Lessons from history. Every great strategist in history used problems as power plays. When resources ran out, they found creative solutions. When enemies struck, they turned the strike itself into a trap. When the game changed, they adapted faster than anyone else. They didn't win because the road was easy. They won because they bent adversity until it served them. Your turn. Think of one problem that has been haunting you. Write it down. Now ask, what is this problem trying to teach me? How can I turn this into a skill, a habit, or a mindset that will make me stronger forever? Once you reframe it, you'll see that even the hardest challenges carry seeds of power. One-line strategy. Remember this, a problem is not a punishment, it's raw material for your next victory. In the next chapter, we'll explore something. Most people never master the power of patience in a world obsessed with speed, because sometimes the smartest move you can make is waiting. We live in a world that worships speed. Move fast. Act now. Don't wait. Everywhere you look, the message is the same. Faster is better. And if you're not moving quickly, you're falling behind. But here's the truth. Speed without strategy is chaos. Fast decisions often lead to slow disasters. And the person who wins is not the one who rushes. It's the one who moves with precision, patience, real. Strategic patience is the ultimate unfair advantage. The illusion of speed. For years, I was addicted to speed. Every time an opportunity appeared, I jumped. Every time a problem showed up, I reacted instantly. I thought this made me decisive, but in reality, my impatience made me predictable. I walked into traps because I didn't stop to see them. I said yes to things that pulled me off course because I couldn't wait for better opportunities. I confused motion with mastery, and all it gave me was exhaustion. The lesson that changed me. One day, a mentor told me something I'll never forget. Fast is fragile. Slow is unbreakable. At first, I didn't understand, but over time, the truth revealed itself. Patience is not weakness. Patience is power disguised as stillness. Why people fear. Waiting people fear patience because silence feels uncomfortable. Waiting feels like losing. When others are making noise, posting wins, grabbing attention, you feel like you're being left behind. So you rush, you act before you're ready. You make decisions out of fear of missing out. But rushing rarely leads to greatness. It leads to mistakes, broken bridges, and regrets. The world only shows you the highlight reels of speed. What you don't see is how often fast wins collapse just as quickly as they appear. What patience really means. Patience doesn't mean laziness. It doesn't mean doing nothing. It doesn't mean weakness. Patience means deliberate waiting. It means gathering information while others guess. It means letting emotions settle before you make your move. It means refusing to let fear rush you into bad decisions. Patience is preparation. It's strategy. It's knowing the right time to act and striking when the moment is undeniable. A story of impatience. I remember a deal I once rushed into. I was desperate to prove myself. I wanted a fast win. So I jumped without thinking. On the surface, it looked like progress. But beneath the surface, the foundation was weak. Within months, the deal collapsed. I lost money. trust, and momentum. It wasn't the obstacle that defeated me. It was my own impatience. How strategic thinkers use patience. Strategic thinkers move differently. They don't rush into every opportunity. They study, they observe, they wait until the timing is right, while others burn energy fighting for crumbs. Strategists conserve strength for the feast, while others sprint into traps. Strategists walk calmly around them. Their patience makes them unpredictable, and the unpredictable cannot be defeated easily. Practical ways to build patience. 1. Pause before deciding. Give yourself 24 hours before major commitments. Émotion coule. Clarity rises. 2. Delay gratification. Instead of chasing the fastest win, ask which choice pays off in 5 years. Not 5 minutes. 3. Observe more than you speak. Listening builds insight. Speaking too soon reveals weakness. 4. Trust the process. Remind yourself the tallest trees grow roots for years before anyone sees them. Patience doesn't slow you down. It protects you from years of mistakes. The paradox of patience. Here's the paradox. When you slow down, you actually speed up, because every patient move saves you from countless wrong moves. Every decision made with clarity prevents years of repair. Every step you delay until the timing is right multiplies its power. Speed drains energy. Patience multiplies it. One-line strategy. Remember this. Impatience spends years fixing mistakes. Patience spends years building victories. In the next chapter, we'll uncover a secret weapon. Most ignore the art of silence and hidden moves, because sometimes the strongest strategy isn't what you show the world, but what you keep to yourself. In today's world, everyone wants to be seen. They post every step. They announce every plan. They think visibility equals victory. But here's the truth. The loudest path is often the weakest. Noise exposes you before you're ready. Revealing your every move makes you predictable, and the predictable can be defeated. True strategy often hides in the shadows. The smartest players know the power of silence. They move unseen until the right moment to strike. Why we crave recognition. I used to be addicted to recognition. Every time I made progress, I wanted the world to know. Every time I had an idea, I told everyone around me. I thought sharing my intentions made me bold, accountable, powerful. But the truth was harsher. Every word I gave away became a weapon in someone else's hands. People who doubted me used my plans to mock me. People who envied me copied my strategy before I could finish it. And sometimes, speaking my dream out loud tricked my brain into thinking I had already achieved it. That hunger for recognition made me weaker, not stronger. The discipline of silence. Strategic thinkers practice a different discipline. Silence, not because they're afraid, but because they understand power grows strongest when it's unseen. Silence is a shield. It keeps your intentions hidden. It makes others underestimate you. It gives you freedom to change direction without judgment. And when you finally reveal your move, it's unstoppable, because nobody saw it coming. Why most people reveal too much. Most people reveal too much because silence feels heavy. They want validation. They want applause. They want someone to reassure them they're on the right path. But validation is a trap. It makes you dependent on outside approval. And worse, it exposes your plans to eyes that may not have your best interest at heart. When too many voices live in your head, doubt grows louder than vision. And when your plans fail, the shame doubles because you announced them to the world. A story of hidden progress. I once worked quietly on a project for months. I told no one. Every day. I built in silence every night. I refined my vision. It was painful to resist the urge to show off progress. But when I finally revealed the result, it was unstoppable. No one had time to block me. No one had the chance to poison my focus. That victory taught me something priceless. Noise feeds ego. Silence feeds power. How to master hidden moves 1. Keep your plan private. Not every idea needs an audience. 2. Let actions speak. Reveal results, not intentions. 3. Observe others while staying quiet. Silence gives you data that noise will drown out. 4. Fail privately. Learn quickly. When mistakes are made in silence, no one can use them against you. Why silence is so powerful? Silence creates mystery. It forces people to guess your next move. And while they waste time speculating, you're already 3 steps ahead. Silence protects your momentum. It keeps you free from outside pressure. It shields your confidence while it grows stronger, and silence multiplies your impact. Because when you finally act, it feels sudden, shocking, undeniable. The paradox of hidden moves. Here's the paradox. The less you reveal, the more powerful you appear. The more unpredictable you are, the harder you are to stop. It's not about being secretive for the sake of it. It's about mastering the flow of information. You decide what the world sees and what it doesn't. You reveal only what strengthens you, never what weakens you. One-line strategy. Remember this, noise may win attention, but silence wins wars. In the next chapter, we'll uncover why positioning beats force, because success is not about pushing harder, it's about standing in the right place, where one small move changes everything. Most people believe success belongs to the strongest, the one who pushes hardest, the one who never stops grinding. But strength alone is not enough, because raw force often wastes energy, and no matter how hard you push, if you're in the wrong place, the wall will never break. Here's the truth. The strongest person in the room doesn't always win. The one in the best position does. My lesson in burnout. For years, I thought hustle was everything. I worked late nights. I said yes to every task. I poured endless energy into chasing success. But no matter how much I pushed, nothing changed. I was exhausted, frustrated, stuck. Meanwhile, I watched others, people with less energy, less obvious talent, rise faster than I did. At first, I felt angry, even jealous. But then I studied them. They weren't working harder. They were working smarter. They placed themselves in the right position, so the game bent in their favor. That was the day I learned force without position is noise. Why people stay stuck. Most people confuse activity with progress. They believe effort equals results, so they sprint in every direction, hoping something works. But busyness is not strategy. You can spend years fighting battles that don't matter. You can pour energy into paths that never lead to victory. Without positioning, all that effort drains you instead of raising you. What positioning really means positioning is alignment. It's knowing where to focus your energy, so every action multiplies. It's about choosing the right opportunities, building the right relationships, standing on the right ground before you strike. The smartest move is not always to push harder. Sometimes it's to step back, reposition, and push where the leverage is greatest. A turning point. I once spent months fighting a challenge head on. I doubled my effort. I tried to prove I wasn't weak, but nothing worked. Then I asked myself, what if this wall isn't meant to be broken? What if there's a door somewhere else? I stopped pushing blindly and started observing. And soon, I found another path, a different connection, a new angle, a timing advantage. With a fraction of the effort, the problem dissolved. That moment taught me something vital. Most obstacles are only solid because you're attacking them from the wrong side. How to master positioning. 1. Study the landscape before you act. Don't rush, observe. Where's the leverage point? 2. Pick your battles wisely. Not every fight is worth your time. Save strength for the ones that matter. 3. Align with your strengths. Put yourself where your natural abilities shine the most. 4. Use timing as position. Sometimes being early or being patient is the strongest place you can stand. Why positioning beats force? Force drains energy. Positioning multiplies it. Think of a lever with the right position. One small push moves what raw strength never could. That's the essence of strategy. When you're well positioned, success feels effortless to outsiders. They call it luck. They call it talent. But it's neither. It's the quiet power of being in the right place at the right time. The trap of ego. Here's the danger. Ego loves force. It wants to prove itself. It wants to fight every battle. It wants to be seen as the hardest worker. But ego drains you into wars that don't matter. Strategy whispers something different. Step back. Choose wisely. Position yourself where one move counts more than 1,000 punches. One-line strategy. Remember this, success doesn't come from how hard you push. It comes from where you stand when you push. In the next chapter, we'll go even deeper into the invisible game beneath the surface, because the biggest moves in life aren't always visible, and the winners aren't the ones who see the obvious, but the ones who can read what others miss. Most people play life at face value. They react to what they see. They believe the words in front of them. They trust the surface story. But here's the truth. What you see is rarely the whole game. The biggest wins, the biggest traps, the biggest shifts in power, they don't happen in the open. They happen beneath the surface. And if you only play the visible game, you'll always lose to the ones who can see the invisible. Why most people get blindsided. I used to believe the surface story. I thought hard work plus honesty was enough. I trusted promises that were never meant to be kept. I followed rules that weren't designed to help me win. And every time, I was blindsided. Opportunities slipped away. Doors closed without warning. People I trusted shifted the game while I wasn't looking. At first, I thought life was unfair. But the truth was tougher to accept. The game wasn't unfair. I just hadn't learned to see the deeper rules. The invisible game. The invisible game is made of motives, patterns, and hidden power dynamics. It's the story beneath the story, the reasons behind the words, the moves behind the moves. Most people never slow down enough to notice it. They're too busy reacting to noise, too eager to accept what's obvious. But the strategist knows the obvious is usually a distraction. The real truth is hidden, and the one who sees it first controls the outcome. A hard lesson. I once walked into a negotiation where everything looked stacked against me. The other side was confident, loud, aggressive. I thought I was losing before it even began. But then I paid attention not to their words, but to their silences. I noticed their quick glances at each other. I caught the hesitation when a certain topic came up. I saw what they weren't saying. That's when I realized their strength was an act. Behind the surface, they were hiding a weakness. I shifted my strategy, pressed on the hidden fault line, and what looked like certain defeat turned into victory. That was the day I swore never to play blind again. Why reading the invisible matters? Because the surface is unreliable. Words can be twisted, actions can be staged, appearances can be deceiving, but patterns never lie. Motives always leak through. Energy always reveals itself if you're watching closely enough. When you learn to read the invisible, you stop being surprised. You stop being manipulated. You stop falling into traps. Instead, you start shaping outcomes while others are still reacting to shadows. How to train your I-1. Listen beyond words. Ask what's not being said, what's being avoided. 2. Watch timing. The delay before a response often says more than the response itself. 3. Study patterns. How someone acted before is the strongest clue to how they'll act again. 4. Notice energy shifts, a tone, a pause. A sigh signals that reveal hidden pressure points. Silence is often louder than speech. Why most people miss it? Because they're too loud, too desperate to prove themselves, too impatient to wait and observe. They rush into action while the strategist is still watching, still learning, still collecting data. And by the time they act, the strategist already knows the ending. The power of seeing what others don't. Once you learn to read the invisible game, you gain control others don't even know exists. You anticipate moves before they happen. You avoid battles before they erupt. You position yourself where victory feels inevitable. It looks like magic to outsiders, but it's not magic. It's perception. It's passions. It's strategy. One-line strategy. Remember this. What's visible is noise. What's invisible is power. In the next chapter, we'll uncover the secret that makes you unshakable, the power of adaptation. Because no matter how sharp your strategy, the game will always change. And only those who bend without breaking will keep winning. Every plan feels perfect until reality punches it in the mouth. Every strategy looks flawless until the game suddenly changes. And this is where most people fail. Not because they lack strength, not because they lack intelligence, but because they cannot adapt. They freeze when life shifts. They cling to dead plans. They curse fate instead of shifting their approach. But the truth is clear. Life is not static. Life is a moving target. And the only ones who win are those who bend without breaking, who adjust until they find the path forward again. Why we resist change. I used to believe adaptation was weakness. I thought changing course meant I lacked conviction. I thought flexibility meant I was soft. So I kept pushing forward. Even when the path was broken, I forced failing strategies. I wasted years trying to prove I was right instead of finding a way to win. But life does not reward stubbornness. It rewards those who adapt. The refusal to change is not strength, it's ego. And ego is the enemy of progress. The trap of stubbornness. Here's why so many people stay stuck. They tie their identity to their plans. They think, if this fails, I fail. So they double down even when the evidence is screaming otherwise. But adaptation is not surrender. Adaptation is intelligence. It means being loyal to the destination, not the path. A strategist knows if one route is blocked, you find another. If the map is outdated, you redraw it. If the weather shifts, you sail with the wind instead of against it. A painful lesson. I remember leading a project I believed in with all my heart. I poured everything into it: time, energy, reputation. But piece by piece, it started collapsing. Every day I told myself, push harder, work longer. It will turn around, but it didn't. The more I forced, the faster it failed. Months later, I was drained, empty, defeated, and finally, I admitted the truth. The plan was broken. In that moment, I felt like I had lost everything. But when I stepped back, I saw something else. The failure wasn't final. It was feedback. It showed me what wasn't working. It forced me to innovate, to adjust, to reinvent. And when I rebuilt, I was stronger, sharper, more resilient. That failure didn't destroy me, it reshaped me. Adaptation in nature. Look at nature. The strongest tree is not the one that resists every storm. It's the one that bends in the wind and stands tall when the storm has passed. Species that cannot adapt go extinct. But those that evolve survive. The same law applies to life. If you cannot adapt, you break. If you adapt, you thrive. The art of strategic flexibility adaptation is not random. It's not about changing your mind every 5 minutes. It's about disciplined flexibility. Here's how strategic thinkers master adaptation. 1, detach from ego. The plan is not your identity. If it fails, you can still succeed. 2, read reality, not fantasy. Look at what is, not what you wish it to be. 3, stay loyal to the goal, not the path. The destination matters. The route can shift. 4, pivot quickly. The faster you adjust, the less damage you take. 5, learn relentlessly. Every failed move is data. Use it to refine the next one. Why people fear adaptation? Because it feels like loss. It feels like admitting you were wrong. It feels like starting over. But here's the paradox. Refusing to adapt costs far more than adapting ever will. Stubbornness steals years. Adaptation saves them. Every pivot feels painful at first, but in hindsight, it becomes obvious that it was the smartest move you could make. Story of the sailor. Imagine a sailor on the ocean. They set a course, confident they know where they're going, but halfway, the winds shift. The old route no longer works. A stubborn sailor curses the wind, keeps the sails rigid, and eventually capsizes. A wise sailor adjusts the sails, shifts the angle, and lets the wind carry them forward again. The storm doesn't decide who survives. Adaptation does. How adaptation creates power. When you master adaptation, you become unshakable. No setback defines you. No closed door ends you. No failure sticks to you. You simply shift, adjust, and keep moving. This makes you unstoppable because nothing outside of you can trap you permanently. Every time the game changes, you change with it. And eventually, you become the kind of person life cannot break. Practical tools for adaptation. Here are daily habits to build adaptive strength. Ask better questions. Instead of why me, ask what else can I try? Run scenarios. Always think if plan A fails. What's plan B? What's plan C? Practice letting go. Every week, release something that no longer serves you. Reflect often. Write down what worked, what didn't, and what needs to shift. Train resilience. Put yourself in small discomforts, cold showers, tough workouts, new skills, so your brain learns to bend instead of panic. The emotional side of adaptation, let's be honest, adaptation hurts. It challenges your pride. It forces you to admit you don't have all the answers. It makes you start over when you thought you were close to the finish line. But that pain is temporary, and what's born out of it is permanent. Every time you adapt, you're not just changing your path, you're changing yourself. You're becoming more flexible, more resilient, more resourceful. You stop being afraid of change because you know you can handle it. One-line strategy. Remember this, adaptation is not weakness, it's the ultimate strength because it makes you unbreakable. In the next chapter, we'll talk about time. Not just surviving today, but outsmarting time itself by playing the long game. Because quick wins may feel good, but true power belongs to those who build what lasts. Most people think strategy is about winning fast. They want results now. They chase quick victories, short-term applause, instant proof of success. But the truth is, real strategy has nothing to do with speed. Real strategy is about endurance. It's about thinking not in days, not in months, but in years, even decades. The impatient win headlines. The strategist wins history. Why the world worships speed. We live in a culture addicted to now. Social media rewards quick hits. Business glorifies overnight success. Friends and family ask, what have you achieved lately? So you feel pressure to move fast, to grab opportunities, to show progress, even if it's fragile. But here's the paradox. The faster you chase results, the weaker your foundation becomes. Quick wins rarely last. They crumble when storms hit, because nothing deep was ever built beneath them. My mistake with speed, I used to despise waiting. Every time progress slowed, I tore up my plans, switched directions, chased something shinier and faster. And every time, I started over from zero. I called it ambition, but it was really impatience. Then I watched people who moved slower than me, who didn't seem impressive at first, and yet, years later, they had climbed far higher than I ever had. They weren't faster. They were steadier. They were playing the long game. The power of compounding. Think of money invested over time. It doesn't grow linearly. It compounds small amounts. Consistently invested, become massive wealth. With enough years, your life works the same way. Habits, skills, relationships, ideas all compound. When you commit long enough, the impatient dig up their seeds before they grow. The strategist waters them quietly, knowing roots take time before fruit appears. And when the harvest comes, the difference is undeniable. The tall tree principle. The tallest trees in the world don't shoot up overnight. They spend years growing roots hidden underground, unseen by the world. When storms come, shallow trees fall, but the giants remain because their unseen foundation holds them steady. Your long game works the same way. The roots you grow today in silence will make you impossible to topple later. Why people quit too early. Here's why most never master the long game. They're addicted to immediacy. They can't stand planting seeds without instant growth. They want applause now. They want proof today. So they abandon what works long term for what looks good short term. But strategy is patient. It understands that short-term applause often leads to long-term regret, and short-term patience often creates long-term dominance. Story of the mentor. A mentor once asked me, "Do you want to win this season, or do you want to win for life?" That question shattered me. I realized all my choices were designed to look good now. But the people I admired weren't worried about today's applause. They were worried about who would still be standing 10 years from now. And from that moment, he shifted my strategy. I stopped asking, "How do I win fast?" I started asking, "How do I build what lasts?" Practical rules for the long game. 1. Plant daily seeds. Do one small thing every day that compounds. Read, save, create, practice. 2. Delay gratification. Resist shortcuts that look tempting but destroy the foundation. 3. Measure in decades, not days. Ask yourself, will this still matter in 5 years, 10 years? 4. Protect your roots. Invest in health, relationships, and mindset before chasing glory. 5. Stay consistent. Consistency beats intensity every time. Why long game wins? Because time is the ultimate multiplier. Impatience burns energy. Patience stacks it. The quick will always look ahead of you at first. They'll post results, grab attention, make you doubt your pace, but by the time their shortcuts collapse, your quiet bricks will have built a fortress, and no storm will take it away. Emotional discipline. Playing the long game is not glamorous. It requires you to stay committed when nobody notices. It requires faith when results are invisible. It requires courage to keep building when everyone else is chasing faster wins. It will feel lonely. It will feel slow. But it will also feel inevitable because you'll know the weight of every brick you're stacking. One-line strategy. Remember this: fast victories impress today. Slow victories own tomorrow. In the next chapter, we'll talk about chaos, because no matter how perfect your strategy, life will throw storms designed to break your focus. And the only way to keep winning is to build a mental fortress strong enough to outlast the storm. Now you know the truth. Life isn't about brute force. It isn't about rushing blindly. It's about strategy, the art of seeing further, thinking sharper, and moving smarter. Every challenge you face from this moment on is not a wall meant to stop you. It's a puzzle waiting to be solved. And you now hold the mindset to solve it. Remember, the strongest person isn't the one who fights the hardest. It's the one who thinks the clearest, the one who refuses to be reactive, the one who plays the long game. So starting today, stop living like a pawn in someone else's game. Step up as the grandmaster of your own life. See the board. Think 3 moves ahead. Turn problems into power. And outsmart every obstacle that dares to stand in your way, because the world does not belong to the loudest. It belongs to the strategist, to the one who turns patience, silence, and precision into unstoppable victory. That one is you. If this message sparked something inside you, don't just nod and forget. Take action. Hit subscribe right now. Join the Think Rich Mindset Hub community where we sharpen minds, strengthen spirits, and build strategies that last, your next level won't come from force. It will come from strategy. So claim it, own it, live it, because the game of life is still being played, and now you finally know how to win.